Susan Gaye Goodwin was born on the 5th of November 1962 in Bairnsdale, Victoria, to Don and Margaret Goodwin. She was the fourth of 5 children and grew up in the small Gippsland communities of Archies Creek and Wonthaggi. Susan attended Dalyston Primary School, Archies Creek Primary School, and later Wonthaggi Technical School. Family and friends remembered Susan as someone who enjoyed being outdoors. She loved fishing, playing tennis, driving old cars, and listening to music. Her favourite artist was Suzi Quatro, earning her the nickname Suzi Q. She also played pool and later competed in local competitions. In September 1984, Susan was involved in a serious motor vehicle accident near Clifton Creek, east of Bairnsdale. The crash claimed the lives of 3 of her siblings, Mari, Heather and Gary Goodwin, along with their cousin Stephen Shanahan. Susan and another cousin survived the accident. According to her family, although she recovered physically, the loss of so many close family members had a lasting impact on her life. During the following decade, Susan worked in Victoria before relocating to Port Lincoln, South Australia around 1995 with her long-term partner, Michelle Peterson. The couple settled in Moonta Crescent, where Susan became well known in the local community. She continued to enjoy fishing and regularly played pool with friends. By July 2002, Susan had been living in Port Lincoln for several years. Friday, July 19, 2002, began as a normal day for Susan. Around lunchtime, Susan drove into Port Lincoln's shopping district to buy groceries. Police later confirmed that she visited both Coles and Woolworths, purchasing food for that evening's meal before returning home. Later that afternoon, Susan was due to collect her long-term partner, Michelle Peterson, from work at 4:15 p.m. When Susan failed to arrive, Michelle accepted a lift home from a work colleague. On arriving home, Michelle found Susan's car parked in the driveway. Inside the house, the groceries had been unpacked. Fresh meat had been prepared and placed in the refrigerator. Her personal belongings were still inside. Michelle later recalled that Susan's toothbrush was also still in the bathroom, something she believed was unusual because Susan never left home without it. Police later stated they believed Susan had only the clothes she was wearing and approximately $140 in cash when she disappeared. Concerned by what she had found, Michelle reported Susan missing later that evening. Following Susan's disappearance on Friday, the 19th of July 2002, South Australia Police commenced a missing person investigation. Detectives interviewed Susan's family, friends, neighbours and work colleagues to establish her movements during the day she disappeared. Investigators also examined the home in Moonta Crescent and confirmed there had been no activity on Susan's bank accounts after July 19th, 2002. Police appealed to the public for information and asked anyone who had seen Susan on the day she disappeared to contact investigators. Over the following years, officers conducted searches in and around Port Lincoln, following information provided by members of the public and investigating every reported sighting. Despite those inquiries, police were unable to establish what had happened to Susan or where she had gone. On Wednesday, May 31st, 2017, South Australia Police's Major Crime Investigation Branch announced a comprehensive review of Susan Goodwin's disappearance. The review was led by Detective Superintendent Des Bray, officer in charge of the Major Crime Investigation Branch.
People that I would encourage to come forward is the people around the offenders, the people who might have been told something in the past and they've kept their dirty little secret for 15 years. Now's the time to come forward.
At the same time, Crime Stoppers South Australia launched a public campaign to encourage anyone with information to contact police. Susan's photograph appeared on police vehicles, posters were distributed throughout Port Lincoln and surrounding communities, and drink coasters carrying details of the case were placed in local hotels and licensed venues. A $200,000 reward was also publicised for information leading to the conviction of the person or persons responsible for Susan's death, or to the recovery of her remains. During the media announcement, Detective Superintendent Bray outlined the investigators' assessment of the case. He said, "We are firm in our belief that she was murdered and that her body has been disposed of within a 30-kilometre radius of Port Lincoln." Detective Superintendent Bray also appealed directly to the community. "We believe this is an eminently solvable case. Somebody knows what happened to Susan Goodwin, and after all these years we hope they will come forward and tell us. Susan's family supported the renewed appeal. Susan's father, Don Goodwin, spoke publicly while receiving treatment for terminal lung cancer.
The father of a suspected murder victim says his dying wish is to get justice for his daughter. Susan Goodwin disappeared from Port Lincoln in 2002. Her father, Don, has broken a long silence after revealing he is battling cancer.
Oh, I need someone to come up with something, find something. There must be somebody knows something. Please help me. I need it badly.
Later that year, both Don and Margaret Goodwin died without learning what had happened to their daughter. On Tuesday, September 16th, 2025, detectives from the South Australia Police Major Crime Investigation Branch executed a search warrant at a residential property in Pamir Court, Port Lincoln. Specialist officers from the Australian Federal Police used ground-penetrating radar to examine the property. The next day, investigators located human remains buried on the property. Police also recovered personal belongings believed to belong to Susan Goodwin. Later that day, South Australia Police announced that John Mislov, a 64-year-old Port Lincoln man, had been arrested and charged with Susan Goodwin's alleged murder. Detective Superintendent Andrew McRae, officer in charge of the Major Crime Investigation Branch, said, "This has been a lengthy and complex investigation spanning more than 2 decades. Today's result is a testament to the persistence of the detectives and forensic specialists who have remained committed to this investigation." On Thursday, September 18th, 2025, John Mislov appeared before the Port Lincoln Magistrates Court. Bail was refused and the matter was adjourned for further court proceedings. At the time this documentary was produced, the proceedings remained before the courts. John Mislov has been charged with Susan Goodwin's alleged murder. The charge has not been determined and he is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Following the discovery of Susan's remains, her family released a public statement thanking everyone who had contributed to the investigation. The statement read, in part, "Your efforts over the past few days have finally brought us the answers we've been looking for after such a long time. Now begins a very personal journey for us as we try to come to terms with what's happened, laying Sue to rest once this is over so that she can be at peace with family that has gone before her." On Wednesday, November 5th, 2025, what would have been Susan's 63rd birthday, approximately 200 family members and friends gathered in Wonthaggi, Victoria, to celebrate her life. Because of the ongoing legal proceedings, Susan was laid to rest in Port Lincoln, rather than alongside her parents and siblings in Victoria. In a statement following the arrest, Detective Superintendent Andrew McRae said, "Major crime does not give up on cold case homicides. No matter how long ago the crime was committed, our investigators remain committed to finding answers for victims and their families." The criminal proceedings arising from the investigation continue through the South Australian courts. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary informative, please consider subscribing to my channel. And remember, if you have anything you would like to add, please leave them in the comment section below.